Hey everyone, I wanted to hop on quick tonight with the launch of ChatGPT websites. Quick disclaimer here you can see on the screen, but I'm just a guy who plays around with technology, been interested in AI for probably 6 years now. And since ChatGPT websites came out, I wanted to run some kind of basic SEO tests on a website I created. So the process I used is I tried to keep it as straightforward as it would be, if I had no experience with this. So I'm using ChatGPT Soul Ultra, which is a part of the Pro plan. So you can see that here. And as part of that, I'm using the ChatGPT desktop app with kind of codecs. They're merging them all into the same tool. So you can see with my prompt here, part of the reason I'm doing this is because I've used Bolt, I've used V0, and I've used Lovable. And if you haven't heard of those are all just tools to build yourself a website. And in my view, this looks like an alternative to those. I'm not sure if that's the intent, but that's how I'm interpreting it. So I just did a voice to text prompt here, and I asked for an SEO agency that focuses on the North American market with 3 pages, and just give it all the typical site features you need. And it thought for about 30 minutes. This is the Ultra model, so it's going to think for a lot longer. And then it made a lot of determinations and decisions. I reviewed the thinking logs, and it went out and looked at price research, it benchmarked different things. You can see the summary of it here. And then it used Astro for the build. As you can tell in the prompt, I didn't give it any direction on UI or anything. It did fumble a little bit here because it says run locally with, bun and all of this stuff, right? So for a non-developer, this is pretty technical, especially at the end here. And then I had to ask, hey, just host it with ChatGPT Sites or whatever. I want to access it and share the link. And it thought for another 17 minutes, so about 47 minutes total on these prompts. And it went ahead and published it and made it visible for everybody right away, which I've built a couple of sites, and it doesn't seem to make it visible to everyone by default unless you ask. And so I was impressed that it flipped that switch just by me mentioning that in chat. One last thing that I'll mention is OpenAI seems to have done quite a great job with the sub agents and giving different agents tasks and everything else like that. So there was a different agent for, I believe, like the UI build, the code build, the market research build, and those you can kind of see delineated by these icons here on the right. So all that being said, 47 minutes of time on my side, hopefully less than 10 minutes of time on your side, but here's the end website, and I'll be honest, I hate it. It's very boring. There's nothing that stands out about it, and I probably wouldn't buy from this company. And I'm just gonna scroll down and kind of critique this as I go. But yeah, decision path SEO. I'm not quite sure what that means. North America, okay, good target market, I guess. 2026, not needed. I I like the minimalism. I think with a different background color, this could work, but it's still just menu under title. Title is very large. It feels like I don't know, an old site, and that's trying to be a modern new site with these font choices as well. This kind of smells, as they say, like a Fable or a Claude site, with a mix of fonts in the title here. Again, I'm not trying to be rude. This is just my personal opinion, on AI design. But yeah, very straightforward. It didn't generate any images. It didn't make any specific things. The thing I did ask in my voice to text prompt is just, hey, can you define the positioning that makes this unique? And it actually has 3 full sections on positioning, which one is it came up with this term decision path SEO. And I interpret this as it's just kind of a funnel audit. What is the buyer asking before asking, trying to predict that, which I guess could be unique positioning. I don't see myself buying from here. Let's check out the pricing and about page. So it's a retainer, productized service. Yep, this is pretty typical. This actually, this page I don't mind at all. I would look at buying from there. And about, we gave it absolutely zero context on the business. well, the fake business in this case. And yeah, a little about page. I don't like how, as you can see on the whole site, it's very, very left loaded. Like there's so much on the left side here. I don't see any of the right side being used. So what I would have liked to see is maybe some like hand drawn doodles, some animations, even icons to fill the space a little bit. It's a lot of space, which is I like a lot of white space. But all right, outside of that, the reason I test this is right is if I own a cafe and I want to publish a website for that cafe, let's say ChatGPT becomes the channel to do that with. Will it be a good functional website that has good SEO scores, that shows up on Google, that people can get to from Google Maps easily, I can hook a domain up to? So let's just run through a couple of different things that we can look at to test this as a website. So built with, okay, we're all going to do this capture together, so you guys know I'm not a robot here. All right, so built with is a Chrome extension. I use the free version, and it just shows you the technologies or frameworks that a web page is using. A lot of these I don't know much about, but it's useful when I'm on someone else's site and I kind of want to understand their software stack, what they built the site with. Sometimes it might say WordPress on here, other times it might say Shopify. In this case, it's a custom website, so we have schema. We know that it's iPhone compatible. These are all pretty standard. I've seen these on the majority of sites. Canonical content tag, yep, Twitter cards. Yeah, some of the social stuff, I'm not sure why they show up here, if that's unique. But there's nothing on here to me that indicates that it's an AI built site, and there's nothing that indicates it's using some sort of specific WordPress or something under the surface, which of course is built with ChatGPT. I wouldn't think it would be. I ran it through Blacklight, so to inspect the privacy of the website, just because I was curious to see if there was any type of analytics or tracking or anything on the site by default, and there was absolutely nothing that was found here. I'm really not sure of the accuracy here, but maybe it could be missing something, but I couldn't see anything here. And then I also used this browser extension, which I'm not the most familiar with, but which is Ghostery, and it also was saying nothing was detected. So let's check the. I'm leaving the best part for last, which is page speeds insights. That was the part I was most stressed about. Let's check the rich results. As you recall from my prompt, I told it was a business targeting certain geographies. So here it actually wrote the local business schema, and then it said, here's the website and here's the areas served, which I thought it was cool, as well as the service types. So to me, at least, it did go the extra mile. I don't know if that was just the model I was using. But again, kind of put the organization and JSON schema in there. I thought that was a great touch. For accessibility, there were two things here just in the HTML that didn't appear to be working. So I think in my normal workflow, I would just copy the areas that weren't working, paste them back into ChatGPT and ask it to fix it, and then rerun this audit just to make sure it's accessible for folks that need that. For page speed insights, the kind of part I wanted to wait till the end of the video to mention, I'll be honest, I'm very impressed. I've, like I said, used a lot of these site building tools, and a lot of times I would plug them into here, and these numbers would be in the, much lower than this, I'll just say. Again, only my personal experience, maybe I was prompting wrong, but to get these scores out of the box, I really do think there could be something here. I'm really not sure, once we get away from a 3-page website, something more complex, how that would look. But to be able to prompt and get a score with almost all hundreds out of a box is interesting to me. The funny bit to me was the agentic browsing that Page Speeds Insights added. The funny part is an agent kind of built this, and it only scored a 1 out of 2 for that. And that goes back to that accessibility. The same element there that the accessibility checker identified was also identified by Page Speed Insights. So performance 100 out of 100, accessibility, the same issue that's mentioned in the agent, and then best practices, seeing that there's some security things taken care of there, and seeing the structured data is valid here in our SEO. Of course, there's much more to building a website, but I'm impressed. I'm going to go through and see how easy it is. If they'll even allow me to hook up a custom domain. And then it goes into the picture of, how do I handle email with this? How do I handle the other parts? But ChatGPT Sites, interesting play. I didn't see it coming, and I'm very curious to see how the product matures. Currently, I don't plan to use it for any websites. I have my own, separate website setup, but I'm intrigued. And again, don't take my word for it. Make sure you talk to a professional and try it out for yourself for educational purposes like I am. Thanks for watching.